NBA players who hate each other. Tensions are practically bound to develop at some time when two or more of the most competitive men in the world are compelled to compete against one another in the same sport. The objectives of each and every person are identical. Not only do they want to give the very best performance possible each and every night, but they also want to win each and every one of their competitions. As a result of this drive, throughout the course of the years, more than a few pairs of players have acquired what appears to be a hatred for one another. And occasionally, even the fans will get involved in the action. On the court, there really isn't a single player who can avoid being treated with some amount of contempt at some point in time. This is something that happens to everyone. At some point in the game, a player will show up who is capable of easily breaking past the defenses of another player. The long-standing rivalries may be important, minor, or appear to have no genuine trigger at all, which is why it is so exhilarating to watch players who loathe each other compete against one another. Number 10. Steph Curry and Paul George. The two players were involved in a rather notorious incident together in the 2020 NBA playoffs, which fans of any player are sure to remember because it occurred during the playoffs. It was an unanticipatedly heated discussion between the two players who, on the whole, tend to create the sense that they are unrivaled rivals in every way. After doing what Curry does best, which is accumulating points, Seth targeted squarely at Paul George and let a few choice remarks fly at him. Paul George was clearly the target of these comments. Paul George did not take it well. It's possible that some people will think that the outburst was unreasonable, but the majority of people believe that it's because the two men have a history with the same lady, and it is this woman who is the root of the men's animosity toward each other. Number 9. Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. Even though it has been reported by a few news sites that Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns are truly good friends, the fact that they have gotten into several fights on the court suggests that this is not the case. Over the course of their relationship, the two have exchanged harsh words and blows with one another. When players were getting as physical as those two were on the court, it's entirely possible that putting on a good face for the public is exactly what happened. People have said that the two men have officially squashed their beef, but it's entirely possible that putting on a good face for the public was exactly what happened. The passage of time is the only factor that can determine whether or not the two guys are actually on good terms with one another, or whether or not they will not be swinging away at each other the next time they meet. Number 8. Aaron Gordon and Kyle Lowry. The majority of Raptors fans will always have a warm place in their hearts for Kyle Lowry, since he is widely recognized as one of the most compassionate persons in the world. As a result of this, the Raptors have a lot of respect for him, given that he is known for his generosity. It is even more puzzling that he seems to have a significant dispute with a person whose name is unexpectedly Aaron Gordon. A few years back, Lowry committed a foul on Gordon, which resulted in a verbal altercation between the two of them. Nevertheless, it is possible that we do not know what the initial spark on the feud was. Even further, Lowry told Gordon the number of his hotel room in the event that the latter wanted to pay him a visit at a later time. This was done in case Gordon wanted to see Lowry again in the future. In the subsequent matches that the two players would play against one another, they would take turns committing significant fouls against one another. Number 7. Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren. Their first exchange will be regarded favorably by Butler's fan base for a very long time, as a consequence of the wonderful GIF that was produced as a result of the debate that occurred between Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren. After getting into a brawl with another player, Warren was removed from the game and disqualified from further participation. Jimmy Butler's decision to blow a kiss to Warren rather than ignore him is widely regarded as one of the most priceless and funniest moments in the history of the NBA. Because of the unexpected turn of events, which nobody could have anticipated, many people's respect for Butler has grown substantially since then. After each of them said some cutting things about the other in interviews, the hatred that already existed between the two guys escalated to a new level. Number 6. Hassan Whiteside and Rudy Gobert. It is possible that the hostility that existed between these two men has dissipated now that they are on the same team. During their violent on-court clashes, both of these men were not shy about voicing their opinions of one another. Even after Whiteside joined the Jazz, there was no clear answer to the question of whether or not these two guys would continue to have a negative relationship with one another. Although it is impossible to know for sure, Whiteside has indicated that he and Whiteside now get along well, and even play video games together. Whiteside has also stated that he and Whiteside used to fight. Number 5. Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley. The relationship between Westbrook and Beverly has been riddled with stress for a significant amount of time, and this tension has culminated in a number of very serious allegations in the most recent years. Beverly has even gone to the extreme of claiming that Westbrook is purposefully working against him in some way. The two men argue with each other every time their paths cross, and during the course of their relationship, they have said some hurtful things about one another. The problem has become much worse, and Beverly is being adversely affected both online and offline as a direct result of the supporters' unrelenting loyalty to Westbrook. Number 4. Terrence Mann and Luka Doncic. The infamous NBA bubble was a difficult time for many of the league's players, including Terrence Mann and Luka Doncic, who were not exceptions to this rule. Terrence Mann and Luka Doncic were not the only ones that struggled during this time. The men would frequently argue with one another and get themselves into their fair share of difficult situations as they were waiting for the next concert to begin. The two males even got so close to one another that at one time they were standing exactly in front of the other person's face. It appeared as though a fight was going to break out, but one of Mann's colleagues ended up yanking him away just in the nick of time to prevent the situation from escalating any further. Number 3. Nikola Jokic and Markieff Morris. The arguments between Nikola Jokic and Markieff Morris appeared, for a short period of time, as though they were going to be settled entirely on the court. Nevertheless, it turned out that this assumption was completely erroneous. Morris was more than happy to attack Jokic in a public forum on the internet after two of them had a few run-ins with each other. One of those more tense moments between Morris and Jokic occurred after Morris committed a foul on Jokic while they were both in the center of the floor. Because Jokic was upset that he was going to have to accept that, he hit Morris from behind, sending him flying across the court. Everyone charged at Jokic, but he didn't back down and showed that he wasn't going to allow himself to be used by the situation by standing his ground. Number 2. Kevin Durant and Dwight Howard. Many people have been more than ready to speculate on the reason for the beef between Kevin Durant and Dwight Howard. Despite the fact that there does not appear to be a clear reason for the beef between these two players, the fact that they are so competitive is what the vast majority of individuals cite as the primary cause of their beef. The frequent butting of heads between two of a sport's most prominent athletes is nothing new. The majority of people feel that two guys came to despise one another as a result of their competitive urge to be the best, combined with their conflicting perspectives on how to achieve that goal. Number 1. James Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis may have publicly stated that he and James Harden do not have any beef with one another, but the acts of those two men indicate that there is a conflict between them. Both guys have engaged in physical conflict with one another on numerous occasions because they are significant players in the league. In addition, they have engaged in verbal conflict with one another. Over the course of the years, Harden has made it publicly known that he has some harsh remarks about Giannis, which is something that Giannis couldn't have been happy with. Both parties have been careful not to publicly insult one another, but they have done so a few times behind each other's backs. What do you think about them? Tell us in the comments and make sure to press the like and subscribe buttons for more amazing content. Thank you for watching.